My name is Marion Ellis. I'm a professor of entomology at the University of Nebraska. I work primarily on factors affecting honeybee health. There's been a lot of publicity about what's called colony collapse disorder. It's not a single thing, but there have been a lot of stresses affecting honeybee health that have cumulatively filled the cup and spilled over. The biggest being imported diseases and parasites that weren't in this country 20 years ago. In '87, we had another mite introduced called the varroa mite, which is I guess it's the biggest scourge of beekeeping worldwide. It's a very severe parasite on honeybees. It's native to another species of honeybees that lives in Asia, and it's not a severe problem on that species, but on the species we keep in this country, it's a devastating parasite. I think there's pretty good consensus. If the varroa mite would go away, a lot of the other beekeeping problems could fix themselves. I'm not downplaying other problems, but it clearly is the most stressful thing affecting honeybees. And we just don't have populations of honeybees that are resistant to it. My colleague Blair Siegfried and I were funded to work on is pesticide stress. When varroa was introduced, beekeepers had no choice. They either treated the infestation or they lost their colonies. And so there were some treatments that were similar to flea collars developed that you would hang in the hive, the bees walk on them, and it'd kill the mites. And those things save colonies, but they also put a stress on honeybees. Well, a synergistic interaction is something that is well known in human medicine. When you go to a doctor or a pharmacist to get a prescription, they'll ask you what other medications you're taking because they know that these things can interact. Yeah, 1 + 1 = 7 is kind of a good way to think about it. Well, there are just about 95 crops we grow in this country that have to be pollinated by bees. And then when you think about bee pollination, things like cucumbers and apples are obvious. But if you drink a glass of milk, that has a link to bee pollination. Cattle are frequently fed alfalfa. You can't produce alfalfa seed and grow alfalfa without bee pollination. So it's not just the obvious things. Most things in our diet, if you trace them, have a link to pollination. I think there are a lot of things going on today that have an impact on honeybee. Climate change, certainly. I mean, honeybees are fine-tuned to be in cycle with the blooming plant cycle, and so there are lots of things that can affect them in our world. Our moving to very intensive monoculture, growing so much corn, isn't a positive thing for bees because they depend on diversity of blooming plants. So there are a lot of things that impact them. As far as them disappearing from the planet, I think it's fair to say if they do, we will too.